Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to the season 51, I should say, finale of the RTG BareBones Racing Series. We're here today at the Superspeedway known as RTR Superspeedway. A champion's already been crowned, but certainly a Superspeedway is a wild card place where we could end up having ourselves a first-time winner here this year. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of someone who knows a thing or two about racing at Superspeedways, Jessica Schultz. And Jess, no championship on the line now. The overall championship's been decided. So what kind of aggressive racing do we see? Or do we see maybe a calmer Superspeedway race?
Well, we already know that the championship's been decided because Sean Prime punched him a while back last week, I believe. And that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be all calm and cool and collect. I mean, Sean's going to be calm and cool and collect, obviously. But that's not going to stop him from trying to get a top three. However, Seth, this is a plate track, but it's more like a flat Talladega, like you alluded to earlier when we were just making a discussion about the track. There are still battles going on. You have Chuck McClure battling against Bob LaChance and Frank Brevard. But the one thing that's still up for grabs right now is the Challenger Series, where Glenn Harris is 2 points behind Doug Cady. They're going to battle it out. And at the same time, second and third place in the standings between Dante Ricky and Josh Metallic, they're basically 68 and 72 points. They're going to be battling for that second place in the standings overall as well.
And as we know, at the super speedways, positions change multiple times in the course of a lap. And so subsequently, points are going to change multiple times in the course of a lap. So it'll be interesting to see what the finals will be of those battles. Of course, as you mentioned, the big one that we're going to be focusing on tonight is that Challenger Series Championship, just a meager 2 points separating Doug Cady from Glenn Harris. And I believe both of those drivers are going to be starting around mid-pack. Glenn's going to be rolling off from 15th, Doug in 17th, so they're right near each other.
Yeah, and based on practice times, they've had a really good run in their practice laps. I mean, not exactly what you would expect to see is like multiple championships being decided. We thought, well, hey, Sean's already got it. Let's all relax. No, there's plenty more to keep going here, and we need to be focused on Doug and Glenn and see how aggressive they're going to be. There are 60-plus laps here to go. I mean, you know, it's going to ramp up at the end, but the question is, we've seen it in the RTG Tally Challenge Series. Track position could be everything early on.
Well, speaking of Sean Prime, we're going to be talking with him here. Of course, coming into this race, the champion of the Season 51 BareBones Racing League. And we'll get an idea of how he's going to approach this season finale, already knowing he's locked up the championship. Sean, it's Jess and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
I sure do. Closing out happy hour here on the track. Hope you can hear me all right.
Yes, we can. Well, man, first off, congratulations on your win last week at Kentucky, locking up the championship. So with that being said, how do you approach the super speedway of RTR here tonight?
Well, not by talking about myself. I will say thank you, and we can talk about that after the race. It was a heck of a season, our most attended season, and that's saying something. But this is a fun track. You're in for a show. I'm happy I have the championship wrapped up because I'm just going to ride around and watch. I might even, if I get damaged, I might come up and join you guys or something. It's a fun race to watch. Rarely do you see single vehicle incidents here. With the high-speed turns, it's basically a flat Talladega. This is exactly what it is. But it races more like Indy or Pocono with the turns. You've got to use both pedals. You know, you got to get off the gas. You can't hammer it out, and it progressively worse as the tires wear in. Pit road is high speed if you get green flag pit stops. But the name of the game here is stay in the draft, stay safe, and avoid the big one. I'm really excited to watch Glenn Harris and Doug Cady slug it out for that challenger title.
Well, we also got that other little battle going on as well, Sean, with Chuck McClure, Bob LaChance, and Frank Brevard. I mean, do you expect much to happen with the fact that you already have the title locked up, but you've got yourself, you've got Glenn and Doug battling, you've got, like I said, Chuck, Bob, and Frank, they're battling for their respective areas there as well. Then you got Dante and Josh. Do you expect this to be calm in the early going, or do you expect it to be aggressive right from the green flag all the way to the end?
Oh, if I had to make a prediction, sometimes it could be early and often, and you never know. But I would think we should settle in early, and then it's going to be anybody's game after that. But I would expect some activity. I would expect some damaged vehicles. It's we run so fast, so close, such a big field. Somebody's going to check up and like Talladega, but on steroids, because you have to check up here, and everybody checks up a little different based on where they're running, their style, and where the draft is. That accordion effect transmits back truck by truck by truck by truck, and next thing you know, somebody's really having to get out of it, and they're wrecking.
Sean Prime coming into tonight is a 5-time winner. He's also coming into this race as the champion. Best of luck to you here tonight, Sean. Hopefully you are able to keep that truck in one piece, and who knows, maybe pick up your 6th win of the season to close out what's been a great year for you.
Well, I don't look to run for that. I look to just have a good time and enjoy the show tonight. The pressure's off, and I'm going to race accordingly unless the competitive juices get going. But enjoy the show, guys. It's an honor, and we're really great to have you.
Absolutely. Well, that's Sean Prime. He's going to be rolling off here this evening from the 9th position. And, just looking at the chase that he was able to put together to be able to have the championship locked up coming to this finale. He won the first race of the playoffs, finished 5th in the second place, first. I mean, that's an average finish of inside the top 5 in the first 5 playoff races. So no doubt about it. Sean Prime's got a lot of momentum coming here tonight, but I mentioned about him possibly winning. He could be an X factor here, Jess, and maybe pushing somebody else to a win. We already talked about Wooly and Katie. Maybe there's an alliance there where Prime would be willing to push one of them to the Challenger Championship, or as you were talking about, that 3-way battle for the Charger Series.
Yeah, Doug, Katie, England, Harris. Just no Wooly. Just
right.
You love those Dougs, don't you?
I do. I got confused.
But going back with what you were saying, Seth, I mean, the pressure is off of Sean. Don't get me wrong, he still wants to win. But, I mean, he did say, he expects it to be settled in, and then at the very end of it, this is going to be completely aggressive. I mean, I expect it to be as well. I took a couple of laps earlier on the track, and it's just, I don't know what to think. I mean, I feel comfortable in the middle to high line when I was running laps around here. You get too high up coming off the corner, you might hit the wall a little bit. That bottom pushes up if you're not too careful, scrubs up a little bit of speed. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they get through this. I think we did a broadcast of this track a while back for an All-Star event, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. It might have been an Aero 88, or it could be one of the Winston Cup mods that we did. But, I mean, Seth, this race is going to have it all. It's probably going to have some wrecks, and you just got to hope that you're not involved in it, especially if you're a championship contender.
What's also going to be interesting here, too, is the fact that this is going to maybe be one of those rare occasions where drivers are going to your point, have to lift a lot more at a Superspeedway, because as you described, it's a flat Talladega, so there's not a whole lot of banking to lean on. And these drivers out there, they're turning average lap times of about 180 miles per hour. So especially with the fact there's no banking to lean on, that right front is going to heat up a lot more. The longer the run goes on, the tighter the truck's going to be. And as you said, that wall comes at you really quickly. So we may end up seeing these drivers do a lot more feathering of the throttle than we're used to at a normal Superspeedway.
Absolutely. And it looks like if you look at the track, you see how wide Talladega is. This is more like Daytona, how narrow it is. And that could also play a factor, because we did a broadcast recently at a Daytona track, and we saw how narrow it is. Everyone fighting for the same piece of real estate. And we saw how, they were willing to give a little bit of leniency, but when it came crunch time to hit certain marks, certain points in the race, that was out the window. They were leaning, really driving aggressively, and we saw a really exciting finish as well recently at that track. But, I mean, this right here, if things go the same way like the Daytona track, we could be in for a real surprise tonight. I mean, also, we got to look back here at the back. We've got someone returning we haven't talked about in a while, and that's the 10 of Terry Bombard. He's back, and he won here, I believe, last time. I believe is what Sean told us a little earlier on, was that Terry Bombard has pretty good stats, and he won here last time we were here.
Yeah, nice to see Terry back there piloting that very familiar number 10 machine. As it's going to be Jeff Supka lining up on the pole alongside of Grant Wesley, Dave Melson, Chuck McClure, who's in that Charger Challenge. He's in 4th. Josh Mattel completes the top 5. Zach Fremont in 6th, Jeremy Jeffries 7th, then Dante Ricky, champion Sean Prime, and Bob LaChance completing the top 10. Row 6 is Richard Martin and Dave Robbins. Row 7, Jim Glaude and Robert Balcom. Row 8, Glenn Harris and Andre Rayum. Doug Cady, Mark Paglia, Ronald Lucier, and Frank Brevard are going to complete the top 20. That is Sean Garrigan, 21st. Andre Charest, 22nd. 23rd, Robbie Nices. 24th, Benoit Plord. And then it's going to be Terry Bombard, Andre Mahjong, and Stefan Martel bringing up the rest of the field as Supka brings that Bass Pro Shop Silverado down to the start-finish line. It's like a Talladega start-finish line in the middle of the trial in turn 1. Green flags in the air. The finale in the BareBones Racing Series is underway.
Already looking back here at the back stuff, it seems like a lot of people are going right to that bottom early on.
Which is interesting because you said when you were out there testing, it seemed like the middle line was where people would actually want to be.
I mean, that's where I was more comfortable at, but, you know, these guys here, they know how to get down there. They know what they're doing. As we're still side by side up here for the lead. Grant getting ready to get a huge run. He has Chuck McClure right behind him, and we know what we said earlier. McClure, he's battling for that spot in the in one of the well, I'm not sure if it's a Charger or Challenger series with the Chance and Frank Brevard. So obviously he wants to be up there with Grant up near the front. But Supka, he's got a really nice lead right now, and Dave Nelson clears Grant Wesley for second as they come back to complete lap 1. Jeff Supka will actually lead lap 1 of this race, which is really uncommon that we usually see something at a plate track where the inside actually gets that advantage and leads the first lap, because we've seen a lot lately with the outside getting that huge run.
And as we stated, with the way that this track works, don't be surprised with what you're seeing here. The top 6 or 7 all getting single file. We're not really, I don't think, going to be seeing a lot of double wide and 3 wide racing like we normally see at a super speedway, just based on the fact a lot of these guys up at the front, they're going to be thinking about preserving that right front tire.
Absolutely, because like you alluded to it before, that tire, it gets so much pressure built the lower you run, how hard you have to turn, and especially coming off of the high side, having to turn really hard off that exit of the corner, Seth. They need to make sure they keep that tire in right mode so they don't end up having an issue where they hit the wall or they push up too much and screw someone else's race over.
Well, we got a battle here. It was going to be for third, but now it's for the third and the race lead. Grant Wesley to the inside of Josh Metallic. There's Sean Prime right behind him. Dave Melson tries to clear Supka off the corner, and he will do so. That was close.
Yeah, they're really starting to go at it. I mean, we thought they would be basically willing to run single file for a while and get settled into a nice thing to run, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be possible right now. I'm looking back here, Jim Glaude trying to find a way around the 84 of Dante Ricky. This is back for the 10th position. Dante is going to fall back and Jim Glaude is going to move up. I mean, but the main battle is still going on. It's for around the 4th position.
That's where Grant Wesley is going to try and pass Josh Metallic. Sean Prime right there, Chuck McClure as well. Going back to the situation between Doug Cady and Glenn Harris. 2-point separation. Harris needs to finish at least 3 positions ahead of Cady here tonight to win the Challenger Series. For the 3 drivers we talked about in the Charger Series, Frank Brevard, Bob LaChance, and Chuck McClure, it's whoever finishes the highest of those 3. Right now, it would be McClure in the 17, currently in the 6th position.
And Frank Brevard's back here in battle for 15th and 16th over Ronald. He's basically trying to make a move over Ronald. Ronald is now going to go back in line behind Frank in the 35. They're right there running their normal race. They're all single file pretty much back here. But up here at the top, Jim Glaude is still running up there next to the wall, trying to make moves, and he's not going anywhere.
Zach Freemau making a move there on Jeremy Jeffries. I'm sorry, actually make that Bob LaChance. And now also following in his tire tracks was the 43 of Richard Martin. They just got around Jim Glaude also. Freemau was one of the drivers in the playoffs. Jeffries just ahead of him there in the 8 machine. That 51 of Bob LaChance, the car that he's gunning for right now is that purple number 17 up ahead. As you mentioned, Brevard back there quite a ways trying to catch up.
We got battles up here for the lead.
We do. Things got awfully spread out there amongst the top 6.
And now look at that run by Freemau right around Sean. He had a huge run on that back stretch. They seem to get a good run, and on the entry, they just seem to lose a lot of ground to that inside, Seth.
Supka's going to go back to the point. Metallic's going to follow there in second. It really looks like, based off of what we're seeing in these first couple of laps, it's really about that corner exit, because we're seeing a lot of these drivers make the moves for positions on the back straightaway. If you get a good turn two and a good run off that corner, that's when you can make the move and kind of stick that other truck to the outside in three.
Looking through the field real quick, Seth, back here around 19th, it looks like Mark Paglia may just barely be hanging on to the draft of the 96 of Dave Robbins. I'm not sure whether he's close enough to get a whiff of draft or not, but if they don't get up there soon, they're going to lose this big pack, especially when pit stops happen.
That's an interesting point. I'm going to ask you this because you were able to get a little bit of experience out there with the setup and what these trucks do. How much does the draft come into play in this one? Just based on the fact, as we said, this doesn't exactly have all the fundamentals of a normal super speedway, but is draft still that important here?
Absolutely, because like we see, like I was mentioning with Mark Paglia, Mark goes to a point, I believe it's 1.5 or 2, maybe 2.5 seconds behind. You lose that front pack. That pack is gone, and you're hoping and praying that they're going to have a checkup or something up there that'll let you roll back in to actually catch up. You don't want to be part of a second pack if pit stops occur and no caution comes out due to the pit stops. You want to make sure you're within that lead pack so you can be there at the end to battle for this win or a top three, or try to get one over on your opponent in the bracket series. I mean, not the bracket series, but the Challenger or Charger series, especially with Dante and Josh battling for their points as well up near the front. And you also have the audacity, if you're with this main pack, you're talking about this draft come into play. You know, you do want to keep up with the draft to keep speed and be with this lead pack, but it's also really sketchy because, like you have seen at the Talladega Challenge, where they'll run right up, and then, like Sean said earlier, backing off, braking, gotta let off a little bit so you don't run the car in front of you. This is more flat. We've seen them slide up. We see that wall right there next to them. You see how they're all running single file. They're going to have more checkups in this line, and you just got to be paying attention. Otherwise, you're going to run right in the back of someone and wreck them.
Well, no love for the champion. Sean Prime got kicked to the outside. Josh Metallic had the same thing done to him. He's dropped from second back to fourth. He'll slot in there as McClure tried to move a little bit further up in the top five, but instead will slot back in fifth. And, you know, you mentioned about Paglia. We checked back. He actually has reeled back in the 96 of Dave Robbins, so he's brought a number of other drivers with him, created that one big pack again. And why that was important was I was looking at a running order, and a driver that's running behind Paglia, if he had lost that lead pack, was the 007 of Doug Cady, who right now currently is 5 positions behind Glenn Harris. So if he had lost the draft, he would have had a very early hole to have to dig himself out of.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, there's a certain area that you cannot fall behind. Like if you're 3 seconds back, it's pretty much over. You just gotta hope and run and pray that something happens in front of you. If you're just barely enough to get that whiff of draft like Paglia was, you know, thank God that he got it, because now Katie's back up here. And what I'm noticing back here, though, the back stuff, it looks like Robbie Nisus has lost the pack pretty badly. Stephon Martel, Andre Marjon, they're just barely hanging on to draft if they even have any of it right now. There's a big battle going on for the top 10 right now. They're side by side, several rows deep.
Yeah, continuing to battle there, McClure with Supka, who got kicked to the outside line courtesy of Dave Melson, who now leads. You've also got Richard Martin, Jim Glaude on that inside line trying to make forward progress. And right now, it's looking like these drivers are hitting somewhere around maybe 186, 187 tops down these straightaways, but then they have to back it down all the way to about 170 miles per hour. Now, some of that could be them lifting. Some of that could just be the fact that there's very little banking. It's just scrubbing off that much speed. So we're going to have to see here, because this is also going to be maybe one of the rare occasions. A lot of times at super speedways, we see drivers come down for green flag pit stops and just take on the fuel. I think just about everybody in the field are going to definitely at least be going with right side tires if we make these pit stops under the green flag.
Oh, absolutely. They're actually going to take 2 tires, most likely, 2 cans of fuel. I saw Richard Martin check up big time there for a moment, and unfortunately that separated that pack for a little bit, but Richard Martin's able to reel him back in without any problems. Jim Glaude's still up here battling inside the top 10. It's good to see Jim Glaude in the 72 still battling up here in the position I mean, he's constantly going forward. Caution is out, Seth.
See if we can find out what happened here. Oh, yeah, a couple cars
Dave
around
Robbins.
Paglia and Dave Robbins,
And Doug Cady.
as well as the 75 of Andre Charest. And now the question is, how much damage did that Mountain Dew Chevrolet get? We were told prior to the broadcast that it's moderate damage here at the super speedways as opposed to most everywhere else where it's realistic. So the 007, depending on how hard the hit, might still have a truck that can compete, but we're going to have to look back at the replay just how much of an impact did he take.
And caution is out, like we stated, coming to completion of lap 11, starting lap 12. Dave Nelson will lead him back and be your leader at the restart for the. But I mean, I'm still trying to figure out that it's moderate damage. So it doesn't look like he has a lot of damage on his machine.
He was back behind the wreck when it took place. It looks like a late move to the inside. Mark Paglia on the 96 of Dave Robbins. And it's hard to tell if just Paglia didn't time it correctly or what. We'll see here. Oh, man, yeah, I don't know if the 28 pushed up or if the 96 came down, but obviously both drivers wanted the same piece of real estate. And then as everyone's trying to check up behind them, I think Doug Cady might have gotten into the back of Andre Charest.
Just a little bit's all it takes. But, Seth, I'm sticking with the leaders right now, seeing if they're coming into pit. Does it look like there's going to be any hindrance with the 7 machine of Doug Cady?
Yeah, we're about to take a look actually at the checkup that involved him in the 75 to see just how much of an impact he took, as he kind of went off screen when we were looking at the initial contact between Paglia and Robbins. Here is the spin, and well, he nosed it pretty well. I think that might have possibly been the 87 that might have turned him up into the outside wall, and I'd be a little bit worried, I'll tell you that much, because it was pretty heavy impact, and it was with the nose where the engine is stored. Obviously, no smoke is there, but I would be a little bit concerned about possible aero damage.
Looks like nearly every single body is coming in to top off. There's a couple of people who are staying out. I think that's Paglia. I can't really see. I'm looking at the back of the pace car. Looks like there's 2 trucks staying out right now, Seth.
I would assume Paglia is staying out as the penalty car. Probably will be coming down pit road this next time around, as his right side's at least up. They're going for the left side.
We also know that based on how we run the Tally Challenge Series, 9 times out of 10 when we come into pit this early, we usually only take fuel only because we haven't hit that mark yet. Like, we haven't got to the majority of a run. This is right there at halfway through this run, Seth. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to have any varying pit strategies moving forward or not.
Great point there. You know what I'm also wondering as well? If maybe the normal fuel window that we're used to in the Tally Challenge, about, 18 to 20 laps, you guys don't back down to 170 miles per hour going into the corner as they do here at RTR Superspeedway. So I almost wonder if that fuel window extends maybe a lap or 2.
I don't know. You want me to find that out for you?
Oh, we could probably find out here. Yeah, it'd be some useful information, especially if we end up seeing this thing come down in the closing stages to right around whatever the fuel window may be. But Jeff Supka, who ended up getting, we should mention, his, I believe, 5th pole of the season here tonight with that number 1 pit stall. He was able to get out the race leader over Dave Melson. So he will be back on the point when we go back green. And it looks like Dave Robbins is going to be our first driver out of the race in 27th place. He's retired out.
So from what I'm hearing from the 84 of Dante Ricky, who was nice enough to let me in on how these trucks run, he said that he wouldn't be surprised if someone would risk it to lap 20. However, he says these are a lap shorter, lap to a lap and a half shorter than what we run over on Thursday night. So we're looking between 18 and 19 laps.
That is going to make things very interesting, especially if we do manage to kind of go green towards the end of this race. Cut right into around where that fuel window is going to be. Update on the drivers as far as that Challenger battle are concerned. With Doug Cady getting involved in that wreck, Glenn Harris looks like he will be restarting up currently in the 20th position. And again, it's just 3 positions that Glenn Harris has to finish ahead of Doug Cady, and right now, dependent on how that damage is going to affect that 007, Doug Cady may have just lost this championship. But again, it's not over. We can't give the championship to Glenn Harris yet because that 08 may still be involved in a wreck before the end of this one.
And also, we've seen it time and time again over in the tally challenge. We'll hit the wall on the side. We'll have moderate damage on, obviously, and we'll hit the side of the wall, but we'll still be up to speed. And sometimes it looks like we got big damage. Like there was a couple of wrecks that happened last week. Yours truly, me, where it was involved in like 3 or 4 of them, and I thought I had pretty much bad damage to repair, but it didn't keep me on pit road that long. Doug Katie didn't look like he was on pit road very long either, so he may not have had that much damage to fix, if any at all. And then you get the idea, these guys, not only do you have draft, they're checking up, so he might be able to stay with this group.
Gonna have to follow up on that here, as it's still a long ways to go in this race. We're about to come around, complete the 15th lap. I think the light should go out atop the pace car. We should be going green somewhere around 50 laps to go in this one. As Jeff Supka, Dave Melson be the front row, Grant Wesley, Richard Martin, and Zach Freeman going to complete the top 5. I was actually really interested in the fact I was looking back at the statistics, and a lot of the drivers that we've talked about here tonight, Doug Cady, Glenn Harris, Bob LaChance, Frank Brevard, and Chuck McClure, only one of those drivers has won this season in the BareBones Racing League, and that is Chuck McClure. So, you would think that maybe the advantage goes to him, but currently, as things stand,
McClure's on pit road.
Yeah, he's down on pit road and going to be starting outside of the top 20.
I think what I saw was the last time when he came on pit road, he actually fell back, I believe, and I think he had a penalty. I think that's what he's doing now. He's already at the back due to an EOL. Might as well just come on in and top it off.
And so right now, it would be Frank Brevard that would currently be sitting in the championship slot as far as the Charger Series is concerned. And right behind him, though, is that 51 of Bob LaChance. And that's the thing about Superspeedway. The beauty about Superspeedway as well is usually a lot of the championship battles you have, everybody's usually running in the same vicinity to each other.
Yeah, and I'm looking back here at the back of the pack, Seth. I mean, it's good to see you got the 10 of Terry Bombard still back here. He's, staying out, keep his nose clean. I mean, remember, we were told he's won here before. Dante Ricky, I'm not sure whether he's won here before, but we've seen him have so much consistency. Dave Nelson, his consistency. But the one person that we see in this field that does not seem to really get that oomph at plate tracks, but we've seen him really good everywhere else, is that 018 of Robert Falcom. So, one of the plate tracks has always been Robert's Achilles heel when it comes to these type of series and events. So I'm wondering if Robert's able to do anything. He's going to restart 9th on this restart set.
Yeah, we know that Robert usually is one of those drivers that settles in for the long run. He was slowly making some forward progress there on that first run, had worked his way up into the top 10. And as you see, that bright green Interstate Batteries Chevrolet restart on the inside of row 5. Sean Prime right there, of course, as we talked with him early, a lot of the pressure off, has got the championship locked up, so he can just go out there, have some fun, maybe win this season finale, maybe push somebody else to the win. Another driver up here as well. The only other multi-time winner with Sean Prime, Zach Freeman out there in that 006, would love to be a 3-time winner this season. But you also got guys like Jim Glaude up here. He wants to get his first win of the season. Same for Dave Melson on the outside of the front row. As Jeff Supka brings us back down here, it's going to be 51 laps to go officially left here at RTR Superspeedway.
Nice and smooth at the start of this, no aggressive moves, and as oh wow, a little bit of a checkup back here. Benoit Ford had to move up a little bit higher up. I mean, Seth, I don't know. We're going back to green on lap 16. They pretty much just pit between 14, 15. So with that being said, it's going to take us close to lap 40, but more or less likely we're probably going to see people around lap 34 have to come in. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I have to wonder, too. I don't know how much it plays into it. I mean, hold that thought. We had some very close quarter racing there between Wesley and Supka, but, obviously at Talladega, when you're pitting with a group of other cars, or in this case, trucks under green, you have a little bit of banking to work with off of turn 4. I don't know if being flat off of turn 4, if that would cause a hindrance for these drivers if they all came to pit road in a big group or not. Oh boy, they're getting awfully close right now here up inside the top 5. We saw Wesley and Supka almost make contact. Dave Melson and Jeremy Jeffries very nearly made contact. And all of a sudden, that 8 truck has found a different gear. Jeremy Jeffries is now going to work his way up into the top 3 for the first time here tonight.
Yeah, and with Grant leading this, I mean, he's got to be feeling really good about himself. But I'm watching back here. Doug Cady seems to be somewhat with this pack still, so he hasn't really lost too much. I think it would be a lot better if he had a little bit more. I mean, it doesn't look like that damage is affecting him too much, Seth. But one driver who who I'm actually surprised to see falling back is that 84 Dante Ricky.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about that too, because we're used to Dante not really qualifying up at the front. He likes to run his own pace the longer the run goes on and work his way up there. But yeah, I'm surprised too. He's one of those enigmas, I said, in the RTG series of when is the time to go. As soon as you think you've got him figured out, he does some strategy entirely different, as we've had a lead change. Zach Fremont with a push from Jim Glaude, Sean Prime, and Dave Melson on that inside line. He's now going to go to the point. Glaude follows him to second, Prime into third, and going back to your point there about Doug Cady, yeah, looks like he is up to speed. The better news for that 007, the guy he's battling for that Challenger Championship, that 808 of Glenn Harris, was only 2 trucks ahead of him.
And I'm thinking about this real quick. If you go back, Dante Ricky, he just crossed the line in 17th. He's back behind Sean Kerrigan, trying to the bottom, trying to make his way back up to the front. But someone who we thought might actually start making moves to get back up there, who's way in the back right now, Chuck McClure. He's still trapped behind a lot of these vehicles.
And we had the 75 on HRS. Just saw they're making an unscheduled pit stop. Yeah, there is the 17. And that is a great point, because he was up inside of the top 10, up inside the top 5 for a good portion of that first run before getting that pit road penalty. And it just doesn't look like he's got the same speed. And sometimes there is a huge difference in the truck running behind 20 trucks as opposed to running only behind maybe 2 or 3 up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, there's no damage on him. It's a pretty shame to see him mired back there in traffic and didn't have any damage or nothing. So now he's got to really think about how he's going to move his way back forward. Because remember, he's battling with Frank Brevard and Bob LaChance for that title over there as well. And the thing is, Frank Brevard, he's up ahead of him. So I mean, you got to really be paying attention here where everyone's running if you want to actually pounce on this.
Actually, right there, you mentioned the 35 and the 51, right there in the same shot. Brevard and LaChance nose to tail right now. Brevard unofficially scored in the 9th position. LaChance just took 10th from the 10 of Terry Bombard, who tries to battle back again there on the outside line. So this is where McClure needs to get up into to be able to have it be a 3-way fight for that Charger Championship.
At the same time, Dante's falling back here still. He's still running around the 17th position. Josh Metallic, he has fallen back a little bit. He was up there in the front group leading this pack. He's no longer in the front leading the pack, but he's still up there as well. But the thing is, Dante needs to take this opportunity to pounce on Josh at this point. When Josh is actually starting to fade back, this is his perfect shot to get up there now.
Yeah, I believe Dante has to finish 5 positions ahead of Josh Metallic. Metallic has led a lap here today as well, so actually make that 6 positions that he would have to finish ahead of Metallic unless Dante leads a lap this evening as well.
Well, chance going around Metallic as it is right now for I believe it's 11th or 12th right there in front of them. Look out who we were talking about earlier. Terry Bombard up here in the top 10, making his presence felt after being in the back riding around for a while. Now he's up here. Frank Brevard, like we mentioned, he's made his forward progress felt now. I mean, some of these guys are starting to come. Now we get to that point and stuff like you've mentioned before in the past, comers and goers.
Well, if we had to give a hard Charger award since the drop of the green flag, it would indeed be that 10 truck. Terry Bombard rolled off the grid from the 25th position, and right now he is up, currently scored in the 10th spot. So he's picked up 15 spots here in the first 22 laps. We're now a third of the way through this race as well, and the battling up at the front starting to get a little bit more, happening a little bit more here. We got Robert Balcom and Zach Fremont. They're battling for 3rd. Jim Glaude and Sean Prime battling for the 4th position.
I just got whispered by Sean, the champion here, and I asked him what did he say because I didn't hear him all the way earlier on with the broadcast going on. He said, "This is fun. Go up, go back, go up, go back." He says that it's pretty much good for TV, and honestly, he's not wrong. It's making it really exciting for the broadcast. People going forward and back, new faces up here. Robert Balcom now in the top 3. Zach Freeman falling back. I mean, well, like you said, up, back, up, back. We saw Dante up near the front. He's falling way back. Chuck McClure having to make his way up. We got several battles going on for standing positions and championship positions with the Charger, Challenger Series, and everything going on at the same time. We got second place in points between Josh and Dante, and let alone the win itself. I mean, come on, Seth. There's a lot going on here. That it may not seem like a lot, but there is quite a bit.
And see, that's the thing about RTG. There's so many different championships, so many different races within the race, which is why there's just so much to talk about in a season finale like this. But I'm going to go back to what you were discussing about Sean Prime talking about going up and then going back and then going back up to the front and then going back. Unlike a lot of super speedway races that we've seen over here on the RTG side, if you're going to make a pass, it is agonizingly slow. I mean, we see right there, Robert Balcom was able to make a pass on Zach Freeman, but he had to spend about 2 laps setting up that pass. It seems like if you're going to move to the front, it has to be a slow, methodical process. If you fall to the back, it happens in a hurry.
Absolutely. I mean, it seems like you don't want to be trapped on that high side, but that inside, they get so many down there, there's going to be more of a checkup on that inside. So it's about picking and choosing your spot and timing it correctly and wisely. Because we saw Doug Cady start moving his way forward, remember? He was moving his way forward. He's now way in the back of this draft. He's barely hanging on back here with Mark Paglia.
One thing I noticed, that
contact between Andre Majon and Chuck McClure. Everyone saves it. I'm sorry, Seth. Thought it was going to be right.
No problem there. Is looks like that's Majan going way up to the top side now after that contact. But yeah, one thing that I saw just moments ago that I haven't seen this whole race yet, and I have to wonder if maybe it's the wearing of the tires or just the fact that there's not much banking to work with here at RTR Superspeedway. That 72 of Jim Glaude going into turn 1, I saw that car almost snap loose. The back end of the car came out from underneath him. That's something that we might have to keep an eye on here as this run goes on.
I don't know. I mean, he might have had his settings set up to where it's a little bit looser for him because, I mean, I'm pretty sure this track is going to tighten up on you after a run goes through. So, him going way up there. You're talking about that right front, remember?
Right.
You remember when they came down the pit road, you said that you saw most of them taking left side tires.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering where that right front is right now.
Yeah, that's we're what, I think 10 laps into this run, about to complete the 11th lap of this run when they come around this time. Another thing I'm observing as well, there's really no passing in the corner here for these drivers. It's really the passes are set it up on the back straightaway, so the straightaways are going to be very interesting when we get to the closing stages of this race. And
I want to point out that Bobby Farrell has now joined the group on the track. He is, of course, currently labeled in last position on starting his first lap back in 28th, but he is on the track in the 45 machine stuff, so he is on here now.
Bobby Farrell, even though he scored 28th, if he runs the remainder of the laps here, he will finish at least 26th. We mentioned Dave Robbins out of the race, and also out of the race 8 laps ago, we saw the unscheduled pit stop for Andre Charest. His team pushed that number 75 back to the garage area, so 2 retirees as we're closing in on halfway.
A little bit of slicing and dicing back here. I just saw Terry Bummer go from the high side right to the bottom. A lot of these drivers are going from middle to bottom. Right now, Jeremy Jeffries got caught up there, and he's going to start going to the back. Sean Prime's up there behind. I thought they were going to make it 3 wide for him, but Sean Prime stuck behind Zach Freeman. It just seems like, even though this inside line has so many vehicles on the bottom, I don't know why they're not checking up so much, because that outside is just completely leaving. It's like it's not even working right now. I'm wondering if that's the tire or if that's based on the numbers.
Well, the thing of it is, and you and I talked about this pre-broadcast, is when you're on that inside line and that truck wants to push up, you're having to make sure you keep it down there on the bottom.
I saw smoke on the other side of the track stuff. I don't know that there's no caution, but I thought I saw some smoke lingering.
63 of Andre Rayum's back here, and I'm trying to look at the telemetry. He is up to speed, but that might have been maybe the 63 truck, who does appear to be slow coming
It's
out
like
of
right
turn
there
2.
at pit road. It's like right there at the entry of pit road. If you're running around, there's a little bit of smoke there. Richard Martin's back here running in 22nd all by himself.
Yeah, we got a number of cars. I wonder if a couple of cars might have come to pit road. I'm looking to see. Yeah, Chuck McClure actually was just on pit road. Richard Martin and Andre Rium, they all actually just came down pit lane that last lap.
All right, Seth, give me a second. I am getting some information from Dante, okay?
All right, we just saw that the double zero of Doug Cady has lost the draft, so very likely the Challenger Championship might be slipping through his fingers as side-by-side for the lead. Robert Balcom, Grant Wesley, they're going to duke it out. Oh, Wesley may get stuck on the outside, 3 wide. Supka took a peek. Jim Glaude is going to clear into second.
Okay.
Ooh, barely.
Okay, I would like to inform you what happened back there was Richard Martin, Chuck McClure had an incident that happened, and the 63 flipped over and it did not bring out a caution.
That would explain why the 63 was so far off the pace. Must have happened right at the very tail end of the field.
Lap 27, according to what Dante was informing me. So, I mean, it happened when we couldn't see that, and there's people on pit road. So.
Had to have been at the very tail end with no oncoming traffic. That's actually the 43 of Richard Martin.
Meanwhile, Robert Balcom has the lead.
Yes, he does. He has charged his way up there to the front. He's brought Jim Glaude along with him. And now leaving them side by side for the spot just inside the top 5 is Frank Brevard. How about that 35? We talked about he, Bob LaChance, and Chuck McClure coming into this race, all battling for that Charger Championship. Right now, that 35 has control of it.
And with Chuck McClure having that incident a little earlier, Frank Brevard is capitalizing on every advantage he can get. Chuck McClure is no pushover. He is really aggressive, and he knows how to get things done. He knows how to win. He knows how to secure himself in the top 5. So with a little bit of an incident by the 17, you guarantee Frank Brevard sees that as a huge opening, and he's going to take that advantage right now.
Here's the thing that's going to be interesting. If we get a caution, you got to wonder how much damage in that wreck that we weren't able to document. How much damage did Chuck McClure get? We know the 63 flipped over. We know the 43 of Richard Martin just came down pit road, but McClure has not come down pit road since that incident occurred. So did he sustain a lot of damage or not? If we get a yellow, would he be back in the hunt? And here comes the 6.
Well, Seth, between 30 and 34, we're seeing those green flag pit stops starting to happen.
And I would assume
Terry Bombard, Jeremy Jeffries, Sean Prime is also on pit road with Dave Melson.
I'm going to assume that this is still outside of the window of them being able to make it the rest of the way. I think they'd still have to come to pit road at least one more time.
They would. They would have to come probably... Let's see, doing the math here, if they start coming in around 33...
It'll be about, what, 11, 12 laps to go? Something like that?
Yeah, roughly around that point, yeah, absolutely.
So they still would not be able to make it. And here's the thing, too. It's the first time that they're making the green flag pit stops here today. They've got to get it down to 55 miles per hour. And here comes a big group of trucks to pit road this time. Late turn there by Supka.
Oh, that's going to jumble that up a little. They're going to have to back off slightly so they can let him back in line from Supka. I mean, Supka really took a last-minute call to come in.
He definitely did. And yes, he got it down to around the same speed as Frank Brevard, who was the leader of that group coming to pit road. But did he get it down quickly enough to avoid getting a black flag? That's going to be the best question.
Meanwhile, Dante, Ricky, and Sean Kerrigan, they stayed out. And I think Dante was hoping to grab the lead from that group. But, I mean, they're by themselves. There's a bigger pack behind them. I don't know what's going to happen and stuff, but I honestly think I would have come down with the group if I was Dante.
That's a great point with the fact that Dante staying out probably wanted that lap-led bonus point because we know Josh Metallic already had a lap-led bonus point. So Dante obviously looking to counter that as now he and Kerrigan are going to come down pit lane. And here's the problem for both of them. It's only 2 trucks coming to pit road. We had 5 in the first group, about 10 in the second group. two trucks are not going to make up a whole lot of speed when they come back off of pit lane. They're going to have to hope they merge with that lead pack again.
Absolutely. And Chuck McClure, he stayed out. He's currently labeled in 4. So, I mean, by the time this all cycles, I'm thinking Chuck is hoping and praying for a caution to help him. But I don't know. It seems like they were able to get on pit road nice and smooth coming in and coming off. So, I don't know if Chuck McClure was banking on a caution or not since he's already down the pit road. Dante's on pit road as well. I mean, so much for trying to get that caution and get back up. But they really need that if they're going to catch up at this point.
You know, it's interesting. There were a couple of drivers that really benefited from when they came down pit road, but there were a couple of drivers that didn't, as that's Dante coming back out. He's going to actually, I think, catch with this lead group. But that group of 5 that came down pit road all together, the first group, 4 of them are now up here inside of the top 4. All 5 of them are inside of the top 6. So, as we said, around 12, 11 laps to go is when these drivers would absolutely have to come to pit road. I think we're going to see some of the drivers now take note that coming to pit road early is what gains you the track position.
Seth, where are the leaders running at currently on the track?
Currently coming out of turn 4.
Yep, I'm watching Chuck McClure. He just went off turn 2. He's on the backstretch pretty much all alone by himself at this point. That is going to really hinder him. He's going to really need a caution really quick in order to actually do anything with the rest of this field.
Absolutely, in that need a caution.
Doug Katie's back here too.
There's also an issue for Dante Ricky. I mentioned the fact that it looked like he was going to latch onto the tail end of this lead pack. As you can see, he has not. He's drifted all by his lonesome back there, currently in the 11th spot. And the driver he's trying to battle for second in points, Josh Metallic, he is in this lead group. Last time by, crossed in 6th.
Well, Dante may still have a little bit of the whiff of draft from Robert Balcom. I'm not really sure.
See if he's going to be able to catch up, especially if they got side by side, Dante be able to catch them. And
well,
I think you're right. I think he has got him.
They're lapping currently the driver of the 45 of Bobby Farrell. So with them doing that, this is causing a little bit side to side. I'm hoping Dante may be able to reel these guys back in.
I think he's got the draft now. I think he is within striking distance to reel that 18 truck in. So if Dante indeed is able to latch on, that'd be 11 trucks up in this lead group currently. And right here in the middle of all of it is our champion, Sean Prime, trying to finish out the season with another victory. It would actually be his 4th win in the playoffs.
And I'm sitting there back here around 21st, 22nd position where Chuck McClure, Bob LaChance, and Doug Katie is. Doug Katie just got passed by Bob LaChance, and Bob LaChance is more focused on trying to run down and pass Chuck McClure, I would imagine, at this point, keeping Chuck McClure within striking distance for that little series going on between him, Bob, and Frank Brevard right now. I mean, Doug lost a couple of spots there. They're more focused on their battle. Doug really needs a caution to catch back up to actually have a shot at trying to get this over Glenn Harris. And Glenn Harris, he's doing a really good job trying to stay out of trouble staying with the pack.
You know, I mentioned about the drivers that really benefited from the pit stops, and you mentioned one. Here is another of the drivers that really got hurt by the green flag pit stops. Jim Glaude was up inside the top 5 when the pit stops began, as we nearly had a wreck back there with Ronald Hussein. I think that was Glenn Harris in the 08. No, I'm sorry, that actually was Andre Manchang in the 27. But, you know, Glaude was up in the top 5. He's now all the way back here in the 13th position. And another driver that you just documented about there, that machine of Bob LaChance, the 51, he was trying to keep himself up in the same vicinity as Frank Brevard. I think he was just on the outskirts of the top 10. All of a sudden, we find him outside the top 20.
Single file for the top group, Seth. I mean, now they're just like I say, they're starting to battle up here for the front. You've got side by side with Josh, Dave, Sean going back up to the lead, Zach trying to do something on the outside to keep it going for him. I mean, they keep racing like that. You would expect them to start hindering their speed to cause that other group to close in on them, where Jim Glaude is leading that group with Glenn Harris.
We've had 2 incidents here on track tonight. Only one has warranted the caution flag flying, and you know, for a lot of these guys up here, Sean Prime, nothing to lose. He's got the championship racked up. You know, a lot of these other guys, like Zach Fremont, was trying to win his 3rd race of the season. Terry Bombard returning back to the series, trying to go to victory lane. Dave Melson up here trying to get his 1st win. a lot of these guys, I think, are kind of in nothing to lose mentalities. Obviously, there's other drivers here that are trying to lock up championships, other drivers that are trying to lock up positions in the final point standings, but whoa! I think you're going to see a lot more of that. That's what I was getting to. Near contact between Zach Freeman and Josh Metallic for second.
I'm sitting here looking at the interval between 11th place, which is Dante Ricky, and 12th place Jim Gloud. And that last time that went from 4.5 down to 5 seconds. So they're losing time to the front group. And these guys back here from Jim Gloud on back, they're running single file.
Top two going to be nose to tail there with Prime and Freeman.
Oh, Grant, don't do it. It looked like Grant was going to force it 3 wide for a moment, so they're really starting to get racy up here.
Grant Wesley's got a push there from Jeremy Jeffries, wanted to take it somewhere. He's got Frank Brevard in the 35 ahead of him. Terry Bombard to his outside.
Coming up on the lap machine are Robbie Nices now, so side by side once again, that's going to hinder us a little bit.
Bobby Farrell actually just picked up a spot a couple of laps ago. He's now up to 27th, bypassing the DNF Dave Roberts, and now has to turn another 5 laps. He will pass Andre Charest for 26th. If Robbie Nices goes a lap down, 23 of the 26 drivers still on track will be on the lead lap. And you see, now it's almost broken up into 3 groups. You've got the top 5 single file, then you've got...
Oh, someone's in the wall.
That's the 54.
Robbie Nice. I'm not sure why he did that just to let him get by or what, but he needs to be careful. That might have been a lot of damage to that car on that side. Especially if he hit it at an angle, that could have actually caused the front end damage.
I mean, you talked about this being a middle line track more preferred with where you were running and testing, but there's no doubt with it being a flat track as it is, there's a cushion of how far up you can go before more than likely the heat in that right front is just going to cause that truck to go straight and up into that yellow wall.
I don't, Seth, I'm trying to figure this out. This second group back there being led by Jimmy Gloud, they're losing more time. 5 seconds, now it's nearly 5.5. And they're racing up there side by side, lapping cars, but they're going side by side and everything else. Why is this second group not catching?
Well, I'm not really sure, but just looking at the speeds, it definitely tells the story. That last time by, Sean Prime leading the lead group, ran a 181 mile per hour lap time, and Jim Gloud in that 72 ran almost a 180 flat, 180 miles per hour flat. So obviously they are very much so at a detriment as far as the speed to that lead pack. And you just look back at the second pack here too, it just kind of looks straggled. I mean, there's daylight between Gloud back to Lucet, there's daylight from Kerrigan back to Glenn Harris. They're all not lined up nose to tail close enough as a number of these drivers up to the front are. Yes, these guys are racing side by side, but they're racing in a much tighter draft, which is why I think that second group is making no progress.
Well, either way, Glenn Harris must be loving this right now. The one person who is really having an issue is Doug Cady. Doug Cady still running 22nd. Bob Luchan is still trying to figure out whether he's going to push or try to pass Chuck McClure for 20th, because he keeps going a little bit higher, a little bit lower than what Chuck's going. So not really sure if Bob's trying to think about a way to get around him or if he's just trying to sit there and run in line with him. Bobby Farrell has peeled off to come down to pit road. I think that's a scheduled stop since he actually got out late after they had already started pitting, so he had a little bit more to go for him. But I mean, side by side up here again, Seth. Zach Freeman, Josh Metallic. Josh Metallic's starting to work his way back up to the lead now, battling for second over with Sean Prime and Dave Nelson being the leader. I mean, Dante's slowly starting to make his way back up.
Yeah, Dave Melson back to the point. And, it's interesting, too, because, any super speedway, you cannot basically say who the winner, who the champion of whatever series is until that checkered flag comes out. Right now, as things stand, Frank Brevard very firmly in control of the Chargers championship. The Challenger championship, as you just alluded to, very firmly in control of Glenn Harris. And right now, we've still got that battle going on for second in the points between Josh Metallic and Dante Ricky. Dante is yet to lead a lap in this race, however. Metallic's about to go out in front for the second time today.
Absolutely, and it's just really hard to see how they're moving this. I mean, they're sitting there doing everything they can. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's just like Dante gets a run. He goes up to the high side because he doesn't want to run over the drivers in front of him on the bottom. But at the same time, you're going to fall back now. So, I mean, It's really more, you would think it's not that tactical, but this track is definitely a technical track with knowing where you got to back off, where you got to make the corner, where you got to make the move in the pass. Like you said earlier, the passing is really difficult here, believe it or not.
Here's an interesting scenario. When we go to Talladega and Daytona, usually a lot of drivers, when it comes down to when the fuel window opens for the rest of the way, a lot of them want to stretch it the furthest possible so they can come down pit road and take on as little fuel as they need to, and then also then be able to have a quicker pit stop and gain track position. As we saw there, under that green flag pit stop, just about everybody went with the 4-tire strategy. The fuel window opens in the next 3 laps. Do we see drivers come to pit road as soon as the fuel window opens, even though they would have to, at that point, probably still take on the 2 cans since they have to take on tires? Because we saw, 5 of those drivers that were the first to pit road, they came out in 5 of the top 6 positions.
Yeah, but also you got to think about it. If they come in early to couldn't go the rest of the way, that would look really good for them. They're thinking, oh, well, we got nothing to worry about. We can go all the way to the end now. They have to make that pit stop. But you got to remember, if the leaders get such a huge, huge lead in front of those people who did come into pit, Seth, I mean, they can come in and go back out, and they'll be really good. They may be right there with those who actually did pit. So it's risk versus reward. I wouldn't risk it. I'd pit with the big group when they all come in based on losing time. It's all about timing it perfectly. Like you and I run over in your series that you host every Saturday, and it's like we've been playing with that fuel mileage. So you get out there, you're way, way out there. You think you got already made because, everyone else has to pit. I'm going to stretch it. And then you come in, you got no help. But then vice versa, you come in early, everyone else starts, they're going to go. Cool, whatever. But by the time you get back out there, it's merged in with the field. And it's like, well, that sucks. We didn't really gain much of anything.
Former winner Jeremy Jeffries took a peek to the outside. I think he faked Dave Melson out because then he darted to the inside, leaving Melson all by his lonesome in that second groove. He'll lose the lead. He'll lose second to Robert Balcom. Grant Wesley right there as well, and then inside line, getting ready to pounce. That 13 truck currently being freight trained.
3 wide off turn 4. It looks like, Bob and Chuck got really close to one another back here when they were passing Benoit Ford. Benoit Ford is falling back now. I don't know what happened with him, but he lost the pack, and he's been caught by LaChance, McClure, and Doug Cady. They'll easily pass him. And now Benoit's going to cycle in, trying to gain a little bit of draft up the 007 of Doug Cady. But Seth, going back to what you were saying, what would you do if this was you? I mean, I already told you I would pretty much pit with the pack. Therefore, I wouldn't lose much time either way. What would you do in this circumstance?
Well, I agree with you as far as pitting with the pack, but, if you go to those 5 that came down pit road, I think it was Melson, I think Jeffries was part of that group, along with Terry Bombard, a couple of others as well. I think Suka was part of that group of 5. If you can get that group of drivers to come down with you right when the fuel window opens, you're going to have 4 people that you can work with. We've seen here how much speed even just 5-6 cars are able to make. At one point, I think 4 drivers were pulling away from the second half of this lead group. I think if you can do that, just based on what we saw in that first round of green flag pit stops, I think that actually could really benefit you in the fact that then you and those other 4, depending on how many come down with you, you basically have control of the end of this race. You get to basically control which line moves, whether or not passes are going to be made. So while it is a risk versus reward, since it's a track and the field's so split up, since it's a track where more than likely you're not going to go a lap down if you make a pit stop.
I'm going to let you know, Jeffries pitting, Robert Balcom is pitting, so we're in that cycle. The next 3 laps, we're going to be starting to see people pit, including some this time by Seth.
Yeah, and this would be, I think, right when the fuel window would open for these drivers to make it the rest of the way, maybe a lap or 2 into the fuel window. So these are the drivers that are making their pit stop right at the point where they could make it the rest of the way. That 18 diving to pit road, leading looks like 8 trucks with him. Oh man, Terry Bombard nearly ran into the back of the 18. Luckily got on the brakes.
Robert Balcom, Grant Wesley side by side coming down pit road. Hopefully, yeah, okay, I was about to say, hopefully they don't have an issue where they have to swing in and one swing out. Pit road can be such an issue sometimes when you're going side by side coming in, Seth, because, you know, you might have a little bit more speed than the other driver, but when you want to swing it down to get in your stall, and someone's right there, you got to check up, and the other person's check up to let you in, etc. I mean, hopefully this is a point where you don't want to make any mistakes at all in pit road, period. Because if you make one slight mistake, back off just one moment, maybe burp the throttle just for a second to let someone else in, it can just ruin yourself coming out and trying to catch the pack.
Bob LeChance in the 51. Look at this. He's going to go around all those drivers that just pitted, as he was, I believe... Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. He was not the race leader. It was actually the 11 of Jeff Supka. Got to go a little bit further up here, as Supka's actually now down pit road with the 84 of Dante Ricky. So again, Dante trying to stay out that extra lap, seeing if he can get that bonus point for a lap led, and somebody stayed out in front of him.
Well, you did say it earlier, and we've been part of these RTG races, whether we've raced in them or broadcasted them. It ain't over. It is not over. Even though the last pit stops have happened right now, from what we can tell, it ain't over. Someone can blow up. Someone can have an issue. Someone can hit the wall, bounce off. Someone can get really tight and pinched in someone else. I mean, anything can still happen at this time.
Right now, it looks like all the drivers that were in that lead group when the pit stops began very likely will still be in that lead group when the pit stops complete. You saw Jeff Supka, Dante Ricky coming back up the track. I think
Dante's in front of Josh right now.
Yeah, he actually gained some time that time before when we
Chuck's
saw him make
on
his green
battle.
flag pit stop. He fell back to the tail end of the lead pack. He's now going to be in the middle of that lead pack, and he's three wide with McClure.
I'm getting a report from the admin that apparently it's going to be really close on fuel for the leaders.
It's right on the window. It's right on the mark. These drivers came down pit road. I believe
Dante, I believe, is the only one that's really good right now.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Supka and Dante are really in a good position because they came in a lap later than what everyone else did.
And look at this. Robert Balcom dropping back. I think this is by design. Is the caution out? I think I might have just seen the flagman waving a yellow flag.
No.
No, okay. Just seeing things here. But yeah,
I assumed. I saw someone go really, really tight down for a moment. I thought, okay, someone's about to get nailed into the wall. No, okay.
But going back to Robert Balcom there in that 18, he was leading when we ended up completing the green flag cycles, with it being as close as it is on fuel. I think he decided, I don't want to be the one out here in front using up all this fuel. I'll drop back to a safer spot. He's going to turn the lead over now to Grant Wesley, who's probably in the same situation. Hey, I don't want to be out in front here. I'm using up all the fuel giving you guys draft.
Absolutely, but, I mean, Robert Balcom, that is a really, really smart decision. Going to the high side, going to the back, sliding in. Not losing so much ground. Yes, he lost, like, the top 5, but at the same time, it's in a good position right now because what we like to do in plate races and sometimes intermediate tracks, such as this would basically be labeled in that regard, is you speed up, you get behind someone, you can clutch it or even half throttle. It may not be a lot of fuel, but every little bit counts and helps at this point right now. I mean, we heard it say, leaders close. Leaders are close on that window mark. I mean, Seth, I don't know. You think Grant's going to save fuel and just clutch and coast over the start-finish line again?
Maybe. You know, that's a great point. We should touch on that with these drivers being close on fuel. If a caution were to come out past the completion of lap 62, as at a normal Talladega, this race would end under yellow, so there could be that scenario that if these guys, even if they're about 1 to 2 laps short on fuel, they might be able to clutch, save enough under pacing as Jeremy Jeffries makes a move for third.
I want to touch on something real quick while we're looking through the field. Glenn Harris, currently 17th. He's currently lost a pack. Andre Rayum is in front of him, but he's a lap down, along with Andre Majan running 16th, Mark Paglia in 15th. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a kind of a stretch for Glenn Harris to, get with the pack. But the one thing he's got at saving grace is Doug Katie's running technically almost, not exactly, but I mean, Doug Katie's way back here in 21st, Seth. He's got Benoit Ford behind him, but not right up on him. So Glenn Harris, he's hoping it goes all the way out to the green through the checker right now. I mean, Bob LeChance has checker car behind him, but that doesn't matter because Frank Brevard sitting there in prime position right now.
Yeah, going back to Glenn Harris, again, the situation for the championship battle there in the Challenger Series, Harris needs to either finish 3 positions ahead of the 007 of Doug Cady, or finish 2 positions ahead and have a lap led with Cady not leading the lap. Now, neither one of them have led a lap here today, and Harris right now is scored in 17th to Doug Cady's 21st. So right now, Glenn Harris, by about, I think, 1 point, would have the Challenger Championship over that 007. Another thing that we need to document here real quickly too, Jess, is the fact that Dante Ricky is in the 8th position up in this lead pack. You talked about him being pretty much the only one that might be okay on fuel. The race within the race right now for that checkered flag, if everybody else up in this lead pack can't make it, is that 11 and that 84. So you got to wonder if they're thinking about that.
Whoa. Big checkup back here. Not around the 9th. They had a checkup on moments that kind of worried me. You had Sean Prime, you had Bombard, you had Supta, and you had Metallic and Zach Freeman. A little bit of a checkup at that point. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, Metallic almost went down onto the apron heading into turn 1. That's why you saw Freeman go up to the top side to give the 39 room to gather it up. But, I almost wonder if it's the race within the race here between the 11 and the 84, seeing who's going to be out in front between the two of them, especially if we get down to the closing stages.
You see what Grant did. Grant went on the high side and started dropping back, and he got inside. I'm not sure whether he's trying to save a little bit now or what.
I think he is. I think it's exactly what he's doing. I think he pulled the same strategy Robert Baucom did a couple of laps ago, so now that puts Jeremy Jeffries out in front in the 8 machine.
Seth, 10 to go.
10 laps to go for these drivers. We know...
they are checking up big time. Sean Prime got real squirrely back there.
I got a question for you. Do you think maybe they're checking up because some of these guys are trying to clutch going into the corner, and so other drivers behind them that aren't doing that are catching up to them so quick, then they have to get on the brakes?
Well, I'm not hearing the clutch. I'm trying to go through a couple of these drivers right now to check. I'm not hearing the clutch, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little bit off the throttle, a little bit more than normal.
Right, I've been looking as well. Haven't seen that classic bog down that we normally see where the front end of the truck in this case would go down towards the racing surface with the engine being shut off. But yeah, definitely I think we're having these drivers coast a little bit more into the corner than they normally would. And the thing I was going to bring up, and maybe this is actually part of it too, why we're not seeing these drivers clutch going into the corner, is because of the fact that if you liken the banking of this track, as flat as it is to tracks like Richmond, Martinsville, other tracks like that, I've realized that actually when you clutch going into the corner, especially with as much speed as these drivers are carrying, when you shut the engine off, the truck doesn't actually want to turn. It actually goes straight because there's no banking for that right rear tire to be able to lean into. So I'm almost wondering if that's eliminated clutching as an option for these drivers because it just wouldn't turn.
Well, also, you gotta remember, if you are clutching and you're going through the corner, when you come off that corner and you get back on that gas stuff, you've been part of it as well. That back end wants to kick and turn you straight to the left. So, I mean, you put the gas back in there, it wants, and you're trying to turn in that corner. If you're able to do the clutching to the corner, you're already turning. You're saying it doesn't want to turn. But at the same time, when you get on the gas on the exit, it will want to turn so hard to the left. And you can't make that mistake at this point when you're having a whole bunch of people side by side trying to race for this win. We're already in the indication about 8 laps to go at this point, Seth. So I don't know how much longer these guys are going to play with the half the throttle issues. I think they're almost to the point of saying, who cares? We got what we got. Let's go.
Look at that 8 car, or that truck of Jeremy Jeffries. He jumped up to the top side there. I'm not sure if he was trying to get the draft off of Doug Cady up ahead, or if he was kind of indicating to drivers behind him like Balcom, Melson, and Grant Wesley, hey, get on by me, pass me here on the back straightaway. Now Balcom's going to jump up there to the outside as well. So I'm not sure if these guys are trying to get the draft off those machines they're about to pass, Benoit Plord and Doug Cady, or if they're actually trying to get the field to go around them so they can go back there and save some more fuel.
Currently looking at Glenn Harris. Glenn Harris is still running in 17th position. Pretty much nice and safe in his little net that he's got right here. He's got the 57 of Stephon Martel right behind him, not making any moves. Just all one little bit of a line here. Just those two are by themselves. And The other person who's running in that battle, Doug Cady, as we just alluded to, just recently went a lap down, unfortunately. So Glenn Harris in a really good position, Seth.
Frank Brevard right now still in command of that Charger Series championship. He's up in this lead pack. Last time by was scored in the 9th position. Believe right now we have a total of 11 drivers on the lead lap up in this lead group. But again, it all really comes down to who's got the fuel to make it. And with that being said, are you surprised we haven't seen Supka and Dante Ricky make a little bit more of a challenge to the front here? As soon as I say that, Supka's almost in the back of Wesley, but I was thinking, they could kind of pressure these guys. If they're good on fuel, get up here, force these drivers to have to race hard with you and use up what they've got.
But at the same time, where they are on the track, we've even seen people on the high side. They're having like a little bit of a run on the exit going in, and they just lose complete power on the exit. Like we see Josh Patak, he's got to run, and he has to back off. Sean Prime just had to back off in front of Frank Brevard. I mean, it's just so back and forth at this point. So even if Dante wanted to, I don't think Dante can make the move he needs to make, because passing, like we said earlier, is really difficult. People are checking up. People are going lane to lane, swapping back and forth. And when you get up there, you got no help.
Talking about the fact, I think that the backstretch especially is going to be where we're going to see the possible race win move made. But if we're to see a caution in the closing stages, there's no doubt in my mind it's going to be somewhere in the entrance of turn 3 or the entrance of turn 1, because the checkups have really been nerve-wracking.
Now going back to what you've always alluded to, whenever you do a broadcast with Zach. Contact between Brevard and Terry. They almost got together in the corner. Are we racing back now? Or are we going to... Oh, there they go! Sean Prime is around. Terry Bombard around.
Caution is going to come out, and we're coming to the completion of 62.
That's where I was going with this. Are we racing now, or are we actually going to race to the checkered? And it looks like we might be racing now.
This is the big question, yeah, because we're coming here to complete the 62nd lap. If we'd gotten past this point, there's no doubt in my mind this race would end under yellow. We do have lap machines. So I don't know if we're going to be able to have enough laps for a 1-lap shootout, or because we have lap down trucks, if this is actually the checkered flag that's just proverbially been taken by Jeremy Jeffries. We're going to have to wait and see. I think, let's see, this would have been 4 laps to go. Man, I think we might get a 1-lap shootout here. I can't confirm. I'm not 100% sure, but I think we may get a 1-lap shootout.
In my ear, I got one saying a 1-lap shootout is possible from the admin Sean Prime. Dante whispered me and he thinks that it's over because of the lap traffic.
That's the big question. I'm not 100% sure myself. We're gonna go back and see what happened here with Sean Prime and Terry Bombard. What a tough break for both these guys. Obviously, Terry trying to, in his return to the BareBones Racing League, was trying to get at least a top 10. Had been in the top 10 all day. Sean Prime trying to close out his championship season with at least a decent finish, if not a trip to victory lane. And here's what happened to him over in turn 3. I don't know if Terry wasn't prepared for Sean to check up that much or not, but you clearly could see the contact and the both of them facing the wrong way there up against the wall in the middle of 3 and 4.
Well, what I had said prior to that, Terry got really, really close to Frank Brevard. Frank Brevard and Terry were running really hard prior to turn 3. Sean Prime was way up the track, and I'm not sure whether Terry carried too much speed in that corner or Sean carried so much speed he had to back off just a little bit so he can make the corner after drifting up so high up. I mean, I'm not sure.
We're on board here with the 10 of Terry Bombard, and let's just see.
Because it looks like he's carrying so much speed in that corner that by the time he's getting there, Sean's already starting to come down. So I don't know if Sean had to back off the throttle just a little bit so he can make that corner, or if Terry had too much speed in the angle he was entering.
It was tough to tell there with the onboard as well whether or not the 10 might have been drifting up just the least little bit, but it did look like Sean Prime had taken a rather high entry into the corner and was starting to come down. So it might have just been a kind of a case of what we've seen here in the first caution as well, where we saw 2 drivers just kind of wanting that little same space of real estate Unfortunately for Terry Bombard, this has taken him out of the race. There was actually some oncoming traffic. We nearly had a follow-up wreck, as I think it was the 28 of Mark Paglia almost got into the 15 of Sean Prime, who was leaving the scene of the accident. But now the question is, you had in your ear 2 different opinions of how this race was going to end. I'm kind of on the fence of which I think it's going to be, because I'm not 100% certain. We're going to know this time around. When they cross the line, if the lights don't go out, this race is over. If they do go out, it's a 1-lap shootout. So the pace truck will tell all.
And the pace truck is coming off of turn 4, getting ready to figure out what we're going to do. 1-lapper, or is this official? I mean, looking, though, Jeremy Jeffries, he's got the lead. Robert Balcom, I mean, think about this. He's been way in the back, not way in the back, but he's been outside the top 10, barely inside the top 10, just meandering around. He got up to the front and fell back. Running right around the top 5 most of the time. He hasn't really made a lot of sound like he normally would on the other tracks. But I'm sure he would be itching to get this thing restarted. But is it going to be, Seth?
Survey says
no.
Lights still on. Race is going to be over. And because of this now seals up a lot of those championship battles. With this caution coming out and ending the race under yellow, Doug Cady was pinned a lap down. If we'd gone back green, he would have been 2 of the drivers in line for a lucky dog. But since he is now going to be pinned -1 in the finishing results, Glenn Harris is going to be the champion of the Challenger Series. And Frank Brevard, who's up in 8th, he's going to be your champion in the Charger Series.
And the unfortunate task of Dante trying to mount some type of comeback over Josh, who may have had a close on field battle here. I mean, he's going to finish 4th. Dante's going to finish 9th, and it looks like he's not going to be able to capture that 2nd place in position, Seth.
So it looks like the point standings coming into this race of the drivers that made it into the playoffs, it looks like it's going to stay the same. I think it's going to be Prime, Ricky, actually, hold on, let's see. Ricky's going to finish 9th. Actually,
and
no,
you remember Metallic had that extra lap led.
That's right.
Too.
One spot did change. You're right. So it will be Prime, then Metallic will jump to 2nd with Ricky 3rd, and then the rest of it, LaChance, Supka, and Fremont, nothing's going to change there. They were somewhat close between Supka and Fremont, but Supka finishing 5th, Fremont finishing 7th. No positions will change there amongst 4th, 5th, and 6th in the standings.
But still, Seth, that was wild. We saw them be so aggressive this whole time. And at the very end, one small little bump, a little bit down, one wreck seals the deal for a lot of these guys. And looks like the one person who's going to enjoy seeing this, the number 8 of Jeremy Jeffries.
Jeremy Jeffries going to finish out the season with 2 trips to victory lane. And his second one's going to be here in the season finale, as he'll bring that white and black Monster Energy Silverado to the line, and he will win here tonight at RTR Superspeedway. You mentioned Balcom getting up there to 2nd. How about Grant Wesley as well? Started outside of the front row, kept himself up in the conversation all day, was out in front for 9 laps, and almost was able to pull off what would have been his first win of the season, but he'll complete the podium.
We're still on the white flag, Seth.
Yes, we are. I've said it all. I don't have to say it within 2.66 miles now. Still some good runs here for a couple
are you
of
looking
other
to
drivers.
catch your breath over there, Seth?
I don't know. I'm apparently not looking at the lap count. I'm getting too excited here. But how about some of these other guys with some great runs? Dave Melson there in the 13. He was up in the conversation all day long. I think he led the most laps today as well with 13. How ironic, the 13 leading 13 laps. He's going to be 6th. Frank Brevard, a great run there for Frank. I was actually looking back at the points for the Charger Series, and I was wondering, what the story was with the 35. In only one of the rounds did he barely squeak it in, and I believe it was in the round of 6. He has been up inside the top 5 in every single round besides that one, so he has had a very consistent season. Nice to see him be able to cap off what's been a great year for that 35, winning the Charger Championship.
I mean, in order to win a championship, everyone wants to talk about wins. You got to win. You don't always have to win. You just got to be consistent. We've seen Dante do that in other leagues that he's got, that he's gotten the championship over there. I mean, these guys here, you've got Glenn Harris dedicated consistency each single week, trying to be in contention. Even if you don't get a top 5, as long as you're consistent, all these races, it may work. Doug Cady, Glenn Harris, great battle for all season long, coming to an accumulation here at the final race. I mean, that's what it's about, Seth. That's why they call these the finales, because you've got really big battles all around. That's what RTG is, and Jeremy Jeffries officially wins the season finale here at RTR Superspeedway.
I felt a dig in the word officially, but anyway,
I had to.
Jeremy Jeffries finally closes out the deal. He's going to get a congratulatory bump from the Charger champion Frank Brevard. Somewhere back there is the 08 of Glenn Harris, who, there he is, passing by the pace truck. He's going to finish 13th. He'll lock up the Challenger Championship, and we saw Sean Prime got involved in that wreck. He finished last truck on the lead lap in the 18th position, but as he said, a weight off his shoulders knowing he already had the championship locked up. Obviously, I bet he would have wanted to finish this race at least up in the top 5, truck in one piece, but I think that, the disappointment of that definitely quelled by the fact he's going to get to hoist a championship trophy here tonight.
Yeah, and Robert Balcom, Grant Wesley, just short of coming up to get that win, for the race itself. I mean, I'm sure they would like to be part, at least somewhat, in contention to get the win some way, somehow. But, I mean, how many times have we seen this happen, Seth? A really great, aggressive race turns into a very exciting finish one way or another, with certain circumstances happening at the very end to change the game completely, like we saw tonight.
Absolutely. But the thing I love too, a lot of leagues out here, they run manual cautions. They'll call the caution. It actually doesn't come out in the game. They do that so that way the restarts will happen a little bit sooner. But the thing about, especially at the super speedways, having the in-game yellows is you don't have to wait till the final lap for the battling to take place, because, as we said, for these drivers, with the fact of that caution coming out on lap 62, we didn't know if this race was going to end under yellow or not. So by the time you get to that point of the race, you have to start racing as if it's the final lap, because you never know if that's going to be the final lap.
I want to cut away here and tell you that Jeremy and Sean are both doing donuts up here.
Yeah, I'm seeing Jeremy, Frank Brevard's doing burnouts. I think Glenn Harris in the 08's part of this too. There he is. So yeah, 4 drivers doing burnouts. Race winner, the overall champion, the Challenger champion, and the Charger champion, all doing burnouts here at RTR Superspeedway. And it looks like they're all going to be headed to championship victory lane as well.
So, what do you say, Seth? Shall we get the 3rd place finisher, Grant Wesley, and get his idea and his take on how things happened tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me ping him for a minute and see. Okay, Seth, I have Grant.
All right. Grant Wesley, 3rd place here tonight. Grant, you got us up here in the FRM booth?
Yes, I do.
Well, man, I mean, you started on the outside of the front row. You were up at the front all day. We know you're really good at these super speedways. We see that every Thursday night. But here today, looked like this was a little bit of a different monster than what you're used to at the Daytona and Talladega configurations. So what kind of little bit more adjustments did you have to make to keep yourself up there at the front?
Oh, man, this track's an animal. I think, I'm not sure who originally made it. I think Terry Bauman, I know he definitely had a hand in it. But yeah, this is a pretty neat concept, it's Talladega, and you just take the banking out. I mean, it's a pretty neat idea. It makes for some pretty good racing. You get that high speed down the straightaway. I mean, we're doing 180 plus mile an hour, so we're getting really huge drafts down the straightaway. And then you get into the corners and you got to basically park it and not run over the guy in front of you. So I think everybody had a different technique, it seemed like, on their entries, and everyone did an awesome job just running green flag tonight. I think we had 2 issues and big field of cars. I mean, you just can't ask for any more out of that. And but yeah, anyway, my approach to this track is I was just trying to drive it similar to regular Talladega. I was trying to kind of run that middle lane and then keep it in the bottom and the corners. That's where I was strongest at. I really didn't know how to run that top real well, so I was pretty well dedicated to that line.
Hey, Grant, just a quick little congratulations for finishing 3rd. I'm so glad we don't have to interview you for winning for once, thank God. I hate to say it, but it's true. I know I'm going to get that paid back to me on Thursday. That's fine. But Grant, we saw throughout this race, Dante and at the end, Zupta, they came in a lap later to pit. You had come in with the pack the lap prior. We saw you up the front. Then you kind of backed off after Robert kind of backed off to fall back in line. Was it at that point where you decided you wanted to save fuel? I mean, how close were you to making it all the way?
I was way good on fuel. I think I was 2 laps to the green. But like on the first set of green flag pit stops, I pitted with the first group, and I came out and was barely able to hang on to the lead pack. And that's a product of that. The guys that stayed out were running so much faster. And then so I just did it the opposite the second time, and it worked out good for me.
Well, Grant, congratulations on closing out the season with a podium finish, 3rd place here tonight at the RTR Superspeedway. We're now going to turn the mic over to you for some shout-outs.
Yeah, as always, thank the owners here for giving us a great place to race. Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, and David Cannon. And also an additional shout-out to Terry Bauman for doing an awesome job on this track and all the tracks that we run here at RTG. I'd like to thank the admins tonight, Sean Prime and Jeremy Jeffries, and I know Dante helps out quite a bit on Mondays. They make Monday just phenomenal. I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast, as always. Do an excellent job. And all my friends and family watching, and my girlfriend and my teammates at XFM.
That's Grant Wesley. He finishes out the season strong, 3rd place here tonight, RTR Super Speed. Once again, congrats on a great run there, Grant. Well done.
Thanks.
All right, 2nd place, Robert Balcom next. Robert, it's Justin Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Series. You got us?
10-4.
Man, so close to picking up your 3rd win of the season. We were kind of caught flat-footed up here in the booth with the timing of that yellow flag. Just had one person in her ear telling us, yes, we'd go back green for a 1-lap shootout. Another person saying this race was probably going to end under caution. Where were you in terms of thinking when you'd have to make the move? Did you think maybe 1 lap later was when you had to do it? Did that caution kind of take you by surprise?
Yeah, I had the lead after that pit stop there, and then I was showing splash going down the back straightaway, so I thought, well, I'm okay with just kind of moving up and saving my tires, because the tires really did play a factor here. Save a little gas, and then when I felt like it was time to go, I started making my move. But Jeremy was watching everywhere I went. If I moved a little bit low, he wasn't gonna come off the bottom, and I'm not the kind to stick it in there and make something silly out of it. So. Like I said, it was just one of them deals. That's kind of a fun track. I was actually good with just riding, and then I heard Jess kind of call me out and say the big tracks are my Helios heel or whatever she said, and I was like, oh, okay, then I got to stand on it. So I had to jump it up there and make it interesting for her.
Okay, so you did it all because of me. I see how it is.
Well, I didn't want.
I'm only going by personal experience.
Fast track too. I just never run them. I'm the kind of person I like to run where you got to put some thought into the save your tire stuff. So, I mean, I run the big tracks when they're on the schedule, but this here to me, it's not. It's a super speedway, but it drives a lot, kind of like a short track to the point of it in the corners where you kind of got to roll out. Save your tires a little bit. I mean, you can run hard, you get that right front heated up though, and it won't turn on you. So it's kind of fun. It makes it really interesting.
What I was going to ask you though, Robert, we saw a lot of these drivers, they wanted to go to the bottom. That's where everyone wanted, was that bottom. Nobody really wanted to go to that high side, but there was a couple of people who wanted that high side. Was everyone really trying to fight for the same real estate at that bottom, or was it the middle line that everybody wanted at the this whole race itself?
Yeah, in practice, I like the high side myself, and I know Zach was trying to run it, and I knew Josh was running it, and you could run it, but you had to have some people to help you, And it was kind of like, the bottom had a brand new birthday cake down there, and the top only had a lollipop, So it was kind of one of them deals where you want to take the birthday cake that's big and good, or you want to get a lollipop you're going to get behind, So it's one of them deals. If more people would have jumped up there, yeah, you could run it as long as you did. You kind of had to let out early and let the car roll through the corner a little bit. But it was kind of it's kind of like that. Everybody just kept jumping on the bottom, and you jump up to the outside and you lose 5 or 6 spots, and you got to try to work back and get them all again. But I knew towards the end everybody was gonna stay on the bottom. It wasn't no reason jumping up there by myself.
Well, Robert, a great run for you here tonight to close out the season. Obviously, we know that you weren't able to run the entire full season, but in the races that you were able to run, you finished the highest of the drivers that didn't make it into the playoffs. So congratulations on that. Of course, we mentioned 2 trips to victory lane, close to maybe picking up a third one here tonight, but great way for you to end out the season. We're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Yeah, thank you so much. First thing I want to do is give a shout out to y'all. I'm glad to be back on y'all's broadcast. Enjoy them. Really makes it fun racing and listening to them. Also, I want to give a shout out to RTG. These guys just go. It's crazy how much they work just for the drivers. Give a great place to race, great tracks, great community. Drivers are just exceptional. I want to give a shout out to Jeremy on his win there, and then I also want to give a shout out to Sean Prime for his championship, Glenn for his, and Frank for his. That's when you get a title over here, you deserve it. I mean, that's something big. And I want to take a minute here and send my prayers out to Sean Prime's good friend. He lost his life to the COVID, I think, this week. So just want to give a shout out to his family and Sean and let them know that we're thinking about him. And then also want to give a shout out to my wife, Jennifer. That's kind of why I didn't get to run for the series. She was in the hospital, and we got her home now, and hopefully everything's going to work out good. Get to spend the holidays with her, and that's the main thing. And then, of course, my little spotter, my daughter Caitlin, she's cheering me on all the time. So I really appreciate them. Let them know I'm thinking about them.
Well, that's Robert Balcom. He's going to bring it home here this evening. Second place to cap off what's been a great season for him. And he's going to get it here tonight at RTR, Superspeedway. Congratulations there on a great run there, Robert.
Thank y'all so much.
And finally, down to victory lane, where Jeremy Jeffries picks up his second win of the season. Jeremy, it's Justin Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Series. You got us?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Well, we're doing good. I'll bet you're doing good. You're in victory lane down there here at RTR Superspeedway. Interesting thing about this track, we talked about it all night long, the low banking. And the track that you had your first win this season was another track that over in 3 and 4 boasts very low banking, that being Phoenix. So were there some similarities, do you think, just based off the banking that allowed you to be able to charge your way up to the front the way you did here in the closing stages?
I'm not really sure you can compare these 2 tracks because this one is way bigger and these turns are so much faster. But it's interesting you brought that up because I normally do not like flat tracks. I'm not a flat track guy at all.
Well, Jeremy, I'm curious about something. You started up in the top 10, and then you got up near the front, and you faded back, and then you had to work yourself all the way back up. You had, I think it was 2 green flag, maybe 1 or 2 green flag pit stops. I want to say it was 2 green flag pit stops that we had tonight, and then you had to play, oh, how much fuel do I have? Can I make it to the end? And playing the checkup. Oh, let's go to the high side. People are up there, but nowhere to go. I mean, what was going through your mind trying to get up to the front? Like, how aggressive were you trying to get back up there?
Actually, I spent most of the race just trying to find a spot to ride. If somebody had got a good run on me, I was going to let them go. I just wanted to survive to the end because I thought there was going to be a big wreck, and I don't know if it ever happened. I know there was a wreck behind me, but I'm not sure what happened. But I was really just preparing myself for that big wreck and trying to stay out of it and put myself in good position. And then that last run, when I was like, well, this thing's going green. I got to get to the front. And I just made some moves, and luckily that some holes opened up for me. And, yeah, I'm sitting here talking to you all now.
I just want to really quickly touch on making moves because we saw you obviously were able to do it, getting up there when it mattered, the caution timing coming out to get you this win, even though it was under the yellow. It kind of looked like at this track in particular, you really had to set up the move down the back straightaway going into turn 3 or on the front straightaway going into turn 1. And even then it seemed like the pass was agonizingly slow. It wasn't like the quick passes we see if you have a drafting partner at the normal super speedways. Was that the case, and how difficult was it to be patient setting up passes like that?
You definitely had to get that run. If you didn't get a run, you weren't going to pass anybody. You could drive it so deep into these turns on the high side and the low side that if you didn't clear somebody, especially if you're on that high lane, then sometimes you were in trouble. And so I tried to make most of my passes on the bottom. I know the high line would work. You had to get some help. And I think there at the end, everybody was just content staying in line, which, really helped me.
Well, Jeremy, congratulations on your victory here tonight to cap off the season, your third trip to victory lane here in season 51 of the BareBones Racing Series. We're now going to turn the microphone over to you. I'd like to do some shout-outs.
Well, first off to RTG, the owners, Bones and Terry and Prime, just for allowing us to have these awesome races, these awesome seasons. This has been such a fun season, and I hate to say goodbye to the trucks, but we got a new mod coming in next season, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And thanks to you guys for these broadcasts. Just top-notch, phenomenal. Thank you. To my XFM teammates, all the owners, or all the admins that helped me put on this series and run all the other series. It's greatly appreciated. And thanks to my family. I actually had a text message asking me what I was doing while I was racing. I was like, well, I'm racing, so they know to leave me alone after that.
Well, Jeremy Jeffries led 12 laps here tonight, RTR Superspeedway, and he led the most important one, the final one, picking up his second win of the season. Congratulations on finishing out the year here on such a high note, Jeremy.
Thank you.
All right, and we are going to now be interviewing our respective champions. Let's kick things off with the overall champion. We talked to him pre-race, and we're going to talk to him post-race, and that, of course, is the driver of the 015, Sean Prime. Sean, it's Justin Seth up here in the booth again. You got us?
I certainly do. Hope you guys saw an exciting race. I hate to be the victim there on the end, but Terry had a big run. It's not his fault. It's just the nature of that track. You get huge runs in the draft, and when you don't have the draft, you're just slower. And it's go time, and he had all that momentum, and he just had no place to go with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we ended up here in Jessica's telling us that she heard you saying, this is fun. I'm having a blast out here. A thing that I touched on when you guys took the green flag was the fact that you could have very well been the X factor in any one of our two championship battles, maybe being able to push a driver that was in competition for one of those championships to the victory, or at least get them up there in front of their competition. Did that ever enter into your mind in any way?
I thought you were saying that because you noticed that I was having a blast out there racing around, and then I dropped back, usually by, getting shuffled to the outside. But, I ran really hard this season, and I ran people harder than I generally like to. I was just trying to prove something to myself. And, I missed the season opener flat out, finished dead last 30 something in the second race. So, and then missed another one and raced with a broken hand. But so I just had to prove something. So tonight it was all about fun. I just wanted to have a blast. So when people came up to get a run on me, I wasn't going to chop down them. I have nothing left to race for, nothing to prove. I just let them have the inside. Go ahead, have at it. And I just enjoy dropping to the back and feeling the draft. It's a fun track to race. It's really a racer's track. It can get frustrating when you're stuck on the inside there, and that's how people get up on the outside, because you get stuck on the inside and you're boxed in and you're waiting and waiting. You get huge runs in this draft, like you saw with Terry at the end. You just get monster runs, and you either have to go or check out of them. And so you take it to the outside, but there's not a lot of help out there. Next thing you know, you're going backwards. So had I been racing for something tonight, I think I might have had a little less fun, but it was just a blast.
All right, Sean, I'm going to change a big course of this conversation real quick with you. We heard Jeremy talk about it a moment ago. We're going to be switching to a different mod next season. What type of feelings do you have knowing that this right here being your baby, being your baby itself with the trucks, are kind of going to be put off to the side, going with a different mod, going to something new experience and moving ahead? And I mean, are you going to be trying to race that full time and going for a championship to defend this? And give me your ideas and your opinions about moving forward now that this is over with this season and you're the champion.
Well, since you mentioned the championship part, I'll take that part first before the other part. It's a pleasure and honor to race with these guys, championship or not. I mean, this was the highest attended series season we've ever had. We averaged way over 30 every single race. It's just incredible. We had a few caution counts along the way, but the quality of the people here, it just makes it worth coming. And when you win something here, it's just, I'm just honored to be able to do it. Like I said, there's a lot of adversity. I'm the elder statesman of the people you're that have been running up front lately by quite a bit. So the old man had to prove that he can still get it done some of the time. So I got up on the wheel. I think after that Rockingham race, I kind of set on a mission, but instead of Optimus Prime or Sean Prime, I'm more like past my prime. So it's really these guys. I just like to enjoy it, and I don't know if I'll ever run for another championship again because it's hard to make the races. But and I missed them this season too. I just really clicked when it got going because I had a great season last season too. But now on to the good part. The trucks aren't my baby. I certainly love them. Everybody loves the trucks, racing with them, and they're not going to go away. We have them, I think, on Sunday nights, but it was time for a change. We've been in trucks since 2014. That's quite a while, so we're going to switch to cars because we've got a really great new mod with this NXS 20, and we've tested it extensively. It's going to be as much fun. The dynamics of the racing are going to remain exactly the same. So just looking forward to turning that page. Was actually my idea. It's time to get out of a truck and into a car, into a bit of a change of the framework, but the physics and stuff, all the racing points going to be the same. And we just put together a heck of a program here, and I really want to thank Jeremy and Josh and Dante for what they do to help make this thing freaking happen. It is, like I said, it's a real pleasure to come in here on a Monday night with this many people from all around the country and talk, but just to race as close as we did tonight. I don't know if Grant or Jeremy or Robert touched on it. It may look like we're riding around when we're side by side there. It's anything but. I mean, the talent that these guys have to hold and run each other so damn close, the trust that we have in each other to be able to do that, it's just exceptional. I mean, the checkups, every turn you saw people going, there were people having to massively check up out of it because they had to run with no place to go. And we did it. And the pit stops under green were orchestrated like like your best symphony on and off pit road. It was just beautiful racing, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Well, we certainly did. Obviously, as we said, top of the program, Sean Prime already had the championship won, but had to finish out tonight's race here at RTR Superspeedway to make it official. Once again, Sean, congratulations on the championship. Congratulations on a great year here as well. I mean, you absolutely were on fire once the playoffs began, picking up 3 of your 5 wins during the playoff competition. A great season for you overall. Congratulations once again.
Thank you again, sir. Again, and just thanks to everybody else. It's just it's a great thing to be part of with these guys.
All right, let's see if we can now get another of our champion
It
winners.
looks like only Glenn Harris is still there.
I must apologize for that. Doug has had a bit of a back issue, up on the wheel all night in here, so he couldn't hang in any longer. He tried.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can at least get Glenn Harris in here. Glenn brings it home, finishing in the 13th position to be able to win the Challenger Series Championship. Glenn, it's Justin Seth up here in the booth. You got us?
10-4.
Well, I mean, man, you and that 007 came into this race separated by 2 points. We know that even though this doesn't exactly race like a super speedway, it is still a super speedway nonetheless. So we knew the racing was going to be close. You guys were in very close proximity to each other for a majority of this race, even after at some point when Doug got a little bit of damage. So how much were you concentrating on where you were in relation to Doug Cady, and how much more were you concentrating on trying to close this thing out with a decent finish?
Yeah, my thought, Seth, was just try to get clean laps, keep the car off the wall. Watch out for the other competitors, not get into an incident, and just run a smooth race. Just focus on what I needed to do.
Glenn, great season to be able to be here at the end to battle for a championship. I mean, the whole season must have been really hectic, trying to stay up there, trying to make sure you did what you needed to do just to get to this point. Like, at the very beginning to the very end of this, what was on your mind? Was it, this is a big super speedway, I'm just going to go out here and sit near the front the whole time and be aggressive, or am I just going to relax this whole time and then be aggressive at the end? We saw people going back and forth, pinching, get really tight racing. We saw you get really tight-knit with a couple of other drivers, and you kind of fell back for a little bit there in the middle of the race. I mean, what was going through your mind when you started to fall back? Was it like, hey, I have to go? or hey, I'm still ahead of them. I'm just going to sit here and relax and coast.
Well, at the beginning of the race, I was just trying to maintain pace, with the other guys, race clean, but race hard to stay up ahead. Just luck of the draw that early wreck happened just behind me, and unfortunately it got Doug tied up in that, and that put him behind a little bit. Then it was just a matter of the green flag stops, trying not to speed and get a penalty on pit road.
Yeah, one quick thing here as well, Glenn, talking about that, we got down towards the closing stages, and it just said, we started to see the aggressiveness ramp up there at the front of the field. At what point are you starting to formulate plans for if that wreck takes place up ahead of you to be able to make a move to avoid the wreck? Because if we go back to the wreck that involved Doug Cady, he was actually involved in a checkup wreck for the wreck up ahead. It kind of seemed like with everybody trying to fight for the same piece of real estate going into the corners, a lot of drivers wanting that half groove off the bottom, there wasn't a whole lot of room to avoid a wreck if it took place. So what kind of strategy do you have in the back of your mind in case you saw some smoke up ahead of you?
Well, it's just trying to estimate what was going to happen, and as it turned out, Seth with the green flag stops, that separated the field a little bit, so put a little margin between me and some of the other cars at that point.
Well, Glenn, congratulations on winning the championship here for the Challenger Series. 3 top 10s on the year, 13th overall in the point standings. And as we said, being able to burn it down here post-race at the RTR Superspeedway and hoisting a championship trophy here in the BareBones Racing Series. Congratulations. We're going to now turn the microphone over to you for some post-race shout-outs.
All right, thanks a lot. First, I want to start with you guys. Really great job that you've done broadcasting the races this year in both series. Really appreciate that. Go back and watch some of them. Friends have watched them, and get a lot of compliments on the program that you put on. So we really appreciate that here at RTG. Also, want to give a shout out to Doug. I mean, a tough competitor, runs strong races every week. Sometimes it's just the way the luck falls that determines the outcome. So also, while I've got the mic, just thank the owners here and the admins for the job that they do at RTG. I know it's a lot of work putting on all the series and the events that they do. And all the competitors really love the forum that we have to race and the great competition that we have here. So thanks to all the owners and admins as well.
Well, Glenn Harris was able to pilot his 08 Krispy Kreme Chevy Silverado to 13th place tonight. That was enough to lock up the championship here for season 51 of the BareBones Racing Series Challenger Championship. Once again, congratulations there, Glenn.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
And as we said, we knew the championship scenario coming into this race with Sean Prime already locking up after his victory last week at Kentucky, but man, it came down to the wire, especially for that Charger championship. And of course, as Glenn alluded to, with the incident that we had there involving Doug Cady early, it kind of looked like that was easily going to move Glenn Harris into an advantage to be able to take that championship. But it's the thing about super speedways, because as we said, until that checker flag waved, we didn't have a clue who was going to be able to lock up the respective championships that were still yet to be decided.
Absolutely. We had several different championships going on. We had the one that Sean ended up winning, but we also had that battle for second that Dante and Josh, we saw them in the top 10. We thought Dante was going to make a little bit of a comeback toward that end of that run, and then Josh got him at the very end. So that was a battle in of itself. And like we said, Doug, Cady, you had Glenn Harris battling respectively for that. Doug, Cady slightly ended up having an incident, cost him that one. And then Glenn Harris able to capitalize and get that one. And you got the three of Chuck McClure, Frank Brevard, and Bob LaChance all battling for that one. And Frank Brevard able to stay up in the front most of the whole race, especially when it needed to happen. Chuck McClure, a very aggressive, really good plate driver in of itself, let alone outside of the plates as well. He ended up having an issue. Bob LaChance, very consistent around the top 10 from what we've seen most of the races we've commentated on and broadcasted. I mean, just a slight little issue Frank Brevard able to capitalize, and he wins that one. I mean, Seth, I don't know what more we could have had in this race.
Yeah, the thing of it is, too, when you boil it all down in those two championship races, the Challenger and the Charger Series, all 5 competitors that were in those 2 respective championship battles all really ran good, clean race for the first half. But it was the track itself, the Superspeedway, the unpredictability that was the deciding factor. Chuck McClure got involved in that wreck back there with the 63 of Andre Rieume. You had Doug Cady get involved in the wreck there after contact with Andre Charest. It was RTR Superspeedway that really had the final say in who the respective champions were going to be.
And hard battling all the way from the start to the end. We saw him get into like a little small rhythm, single file all the way, and then when that moment came, it ramped up, Seth, and they went all head over heels for position. Aggressive battling the whole way through. Jeremy Jeffries eventually came out on top. Robert Balcom second, and Grant Wesley got that 3rd position for the podium. And I mean, couldn't ask for more. And think about this stuff. We got more coming up at the end of the week. We got Wednesday. Wednesday's coming up as well. We're going to be back doing a broadcast for RTR Aero 88. I don't know if you're going to be with us on that one, Seth, but that one's going to be a good one in and of itself as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have the call on that one, but yeah, we're calling the championship there. We're also following that up the following evening, as we're going to be deciding the champion over there in the RTG Talladega Challenge as well. So a lot of champions being crowned here this week on the RTG side, but a great one here tonight. Super speedways are always a lot of fun because of their unpredictability, but I mean, credit these drivers here tonight too. Long green flag runs. We only had 2 official cautions here tonight, one at the beginning and one at the end of this race, and some great racing in between, as well as some pit strategy with green flag pit stops. But it was a good one. But at the end of the night, Sean Prime wins the overall championship. It's Glenn Harris winning the Challenger Championship and Frank Brevard winning the Charger Championship. 66 laps in the books. The championships are decided. Jess, appreciate you joining me for this one here tonight at RTR Superspeedway.
Absolutely, Seth. I enjoy being part of this. And as I said, I'm going to be back on Wednesday to do the RTG Aero 88 broadcast that they're going to have. And we got more coming up. I mean, I'm going to be part of the, I'm hoping to be part of the battle for that championship over in Thursday night when you and Zach do your broadcasting. And we got plenty more coming up the rest of this year as well. I mean, just because this one's already said and done and Sean Prime's got this in the bag and already checked the mark, the racing and the fun doesn't stop for the battling for championships, like you said. Whole week coming up full of fun, exciting racing, aggressiveness. Things can change on a dime, or left, right, doesn't matter. One way or another, champions are going to be crowned.
Yeah, it's a full week of racing here on Flatout Racing Network. Tomorrow night, G-Force ARCA, they're going to be at the 2 Mile Speedway of Auto Club. We've got the Outlaw Super Late Models on Wednesday night at New Smyrna. The Aero 88 series for RTG, they're going to have their season finale, as we already documented, at Homestead as well. Wednesday night, we've got SARG Super Speedway series. They're at Daytona. The Tally Challenge for RTG on Thursday night. The iRacing Dirt Series Championship for RTG on Friday night. And then we've got ourselves a noon Eastern on Saturday. We're going to be bringing you the Indianapolis 500. That's going to be a good one. 200 laps of racing, and that will be starting at noon Eastern Standard Time. So it's a full week of racing closing in on the week of Christmas. Should be a good one here on the Flatout Racing Network. But for one final time, for Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in here tonight to the championship race of Season 51 of the RTG BareBones Racing Series. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday night. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.